They're good old NASA. A lot of people don't even know NASA in Hebrew means to deceive. Why would they name, their little space program after something that means to deceive, to trick you? Think about that, man. These heathens put it all in front of people's faces and they just can't catch it, man. This is called being crafty, man. They do things like this to rub it in people's face. They faked the moon landing. They faked a lot of stuff. Y'all can go look it up on YouTube, man. The cat's off the bag, man. Again, it means to deceive. And the Most High got a scripture for this, man, about their nonsense called science. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called. So the Most High is telling us to avoid.
All right, so I've seen a lot of sources out there on the internet that say that NASA, NASA, does not mean to deceive or however you want to say it. However, as you can see, this is the updated edition, Strong's Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible. It is published in June of 2015. I actually bought this at a Barnes & Noble, and I'm going to show you that, as you can see, I'm not cutting or anything with video, not editing in any way. I just flipped to the book, middle of the book, and if you look at H5377, it says NASA, a primitive route to lead astray, i.e. mentally, to delude, or morally to seduce, beguile, deceive, greatly, utterly. End of story.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the earth. There's no place to go.
Today I'd like to bring to your attention a potential fraud on an enormous scale happening in your county. There's now clear evidence of NASA using numerous methods to grossly mislead the public about astronauts being on the International Space Station. During interior ISS scenes from NASA's own live feed, the use of wires, harnesses, green screens, and virtual reality have been detected to achieve the appearance of a weightless environment. Examples of this include astronauts fading in and out of the screen, green screen glitches, grabbing objects that aren't really there, pulling on invisible wires, getting tangled in their harnesses, and even astronauts appearing out of thin air. This begs the obvious question. If they're really up there, why are they using Hollywood techniques to fake the footage? Now, unfortunately, I can't show you these clips in here today, but I will be sending them to you. Moving on, outside the International Space Station, during spacewalks, air bubbles have been recorded on numerous occasions. How is it possible for air bubbles to be present in the vacuum of space? I once questioned astronaut Scott Kelly about this phenomenon. His body language and answers only created more questions. In 2013, astronaut Luca Parmitano nearly drowned during a spacewalk when his helmet filled with water. This happened again just last year. Air bubbles, helmets filling with water, and drowning. Are they in space or are they underwater? Now, what's really interesting is that they trained for spacewalks in an underwater pool with a complete ISS replica. Now, surely they aren't filming these spacewalks in an underwater pool and then editing them to appear if they're in space, because that sure would be something, wouldn't it? I'm calling on the Brevard County Commissioners to open a full investigation into NASA's fraudulent practices and use of taxpayer dollars. It costs NASA $3 billion per year to operate the ISS, and if they don't have a darn good explanation as to why they're faking these videos, I and the public would like a darn good explanation as to where our tax money is going. And if they are indeed faking the funk, it is our duty to expose and eliminate this fraudulent and astronomically wasteful ISS program. And look, I know what you're all thinking. The NASA is part of the federal government, and you're just county commissioners. Even if what I'm saying is true, what can you do? But let me remind you, not only is this happening in your county, as public officials, you have the platform and the ability to make a statement or hold a press conference, alerting the public, state, and federal authorities to investigate further. You have the power to start the conversation. Video evidence of everything I described today will be emailed to you all, and I truly hope we can get to the bottom of this. I look forward to the day that $3 billion annual budget is put towards our veterans, our homeless, maybe some of that mental health stuff the young lady just spoke about, and the revitalization of Brevard County. Thank you for your time today, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir.
I think you're better at ping pong than I am.
Now, something.
Here's how. Just simply use a blue screen. Voila, now you have a bubble of water floating, as if he's in the outer space, inside the ISS.
All right, we're talking about some crazy moon landing conspiracies.
Are they real? Are they not? A lot of outlandish claims are going to be made today, so your job is to either prove us right or wrong in the comments.
One of the biggest questions on a lot of people's minds is, why haven't we been back to the moon? There were a handful of missions from 1969 to 1972, and then that was that. Yeah, we went a few times, nothing left to see here. Now, NASA has said they've just turned their attention to other projects, but really? We don't want to do any archaeological digs up there, see if we can find any signs of maybe alien life having visited at some point? You know, build some crap up there maybe? Nothing? Interest in exploring the moon has basically dropped off completely at this point, and that's led some to believe that we never even made it up there in the first place.
Okay, next up we have the fact that all of the original footage of the Apollo 11 moon landing taken by the NASA organization somehow got erased. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to call BS on this one, because first of all, how the hell do you just accidentally erase the footage of one of the most historically important moments of all time? And second of all, if the footage was actually lost or erased, how did it not become an international scandal, ending with somebody publicly losing their job and being collectively condemned by the entire country? In 2006, NASA said the tapes were lost, and then in 2009, they claimed that the tapes had ended up in a pile with 200,000 others that became degaussed, meaning magnetically erased. I mean, you're kidding, right? The tapes were then restored by experts, meaning that if someone were to claim that the tapes are fake because of the fact that the video has clear markers of alteration, all NASA would have to do is claim that those alterations were necessary in order to restore the video. I'm just not buying it.
Another detail many moon landing deniers point to is the Neil Armstrong reflection discrepancy. Allow me to explain. In this iconic photo of Buzz Aldrin on the moon, eagle-eyed conspiracy theorists noticed something quite peculiar: Neil Armstrong's reflection in Aldrin's visor. That's not the peculiar part, I'm getting to it. The plot thickens when they realize Armstrong's hands are seemingly empty, prompting the question, where on Earth, or shall I say, where on the moon, is Armstrong's camera? Did Armstrong even take the photo at all? NASA insists he did, but it doesn't look like it. If not him, then who though? Did E.T. decide to snap a pic for them? Or was this whole thing shot on a soundstage in California? Or of course, there's the possibility that NASA must have some snazzy, like cameraless photography technology up their sleeves. Now, some people say it's just a case of perspective and timing. Armstrong's camera was positioned in a way that it just wasn't captured in the reflection, but I don't think Hannah's next point is going to be as easy to explain.
Next up, apparently not only does NASA spread misinformation, but they also distribute disingenuous artifacts. In 1963, after NASA supposedly successfully completed the Apollo 11 mission, 3 of the astronauts visited the Netherlands, during which time the United States ambassador accompanying the trio gave the Dutch Prime Minister what he claimed was a moon rock, but has since been identified as nothing more than petrified wood that has never been anywhere near the surface of the moon. When this information came out, the US Embassy was unable to explain why that would have happened or how, but they claim they were investigating. Whatever that means. None of you should be surprised to learn that the supposed investigation went absolutely nowhere, and to this day there is no reasoning behind why the Netherlands would have been given a fraudulent artifact once valued at $500,000 US, but now valued at around $70.
Here's another hot take. What if the moon landing really was a success, but there are just details we haven't been told? Maybe on that last mission to the moon in 1972, they saw something that made them never want to come back. We may look at images of the moon and see it as nothing but an empty mass of rock and sand, but there's a whole side of the moon humans have never set foot on, the dark side. And we really aren't 100% sure what could be lurking over there. There's a good chance it's just more of the same boring crap we have on the light side, but could there also be an entire species of creatures dwelling in the dark craters and recesses of the moon? Could these creatures have slithered from their shadows to give a grave warning to the astronauts of the Apollo 17 mission to never return? To buzz off? Possible.
Next up, we have the death of Gus Grissom, an incredibly popular astronaut who was an incredibly outspoken critic of NASA's space program during his time working for the agency. While Grissom did become the 3rd person to fly into space, he still didn't believe that NASA had either the knowledge nor the technology to make it all the way to the moon, an opinion he wasn't afraid to share with the public. While training for the Apollo 1 mission, after communications failed during a test, Grissom stated, "How are we going to get to the moon if we can't talk between 2 or 3 buildings?" He also picked a lemon from his backyard and tied it to the spacecraft as a joke, saying that the technology was a lemon and not nearly advanced enough to make it to the moon. In another controversial move, Gus held an impromptu, unauthorized press conference criticizing the space program. Many believe that because of all of this, NASA, in collaboration with the CIA, decided to take him out. During an underground simulation, a spark underneath Grissom's seat ignited a fire that claimed the lives of himself, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee. Some people believe that the 3 men actually died after cyanide gas was released into the cabin to kill them, and that the fire was used as a cover-up, but as always, I want to know what you think.
Here's another fishy part of the whole moon landing thing. All those sick pics Buzz and Neil took up there. Some of them look really a little too gorgeous and pristine. Now, it's not like you couldn't get quality pictures back in the late 60s. I mean, like, have you seen 2001: A Space Odyssey? That movie looks like it could have come out last year. But for 2 astronauts untrained in the ways of the camera, having just risked their lives flying up to space, who have then just set foot on a place no one has ever set foot on before, out in space, like with all that excitement, all those nerves, somehow they're gonna snap these cinema quality pictures. I've looked through old family photo albums. Even home pictures from the 90s look like junk. So my point is, what's the deal with that?
Speaking of the Space Odyssey, what if what we are all thinking right now is true and the moon landing was really faked? Because of course we are all thinking that right now. Well, how the hell would they have done it? The answer to that question is actually quite simple. Stanley Kubrick. You know, the guy who directed A Space Odyssey as well as The Shining. Well, many people believe that the guy not only directed award-winning movies, but also internationally deceiving publicity stunts as well. Shortly after footage of the moon landing was released, Kubrick got to work on The Shining, which was absolutely chock full of references to the Apollo 11 manned mission to the moon. The first and most obvious being that the character Danny is wearing an Apollo 11 sweater in the film. The second being room 237, which didn't actually exist in the hotel where the movie was filmed, but was added in reference to the moon, which sits just about 237 miles from Earth. Room 237 is also the room in which Kubrick supposedly staged the moon landing in the NASA headquarters. As we heard James say, clearly he had the technology. We saw it in Space Odyssey, so this is probably just Space Odyssey Part 2, another day at work for the guy. You can also see Tang cans, which are a space food made for astronauts in the movie, and the carpets in the movie have a pattern matching that of the launch pad in which Apollo 11 took off from. Did they though? Did they?
On any movie set, you also need some props, right? For example, Hannah and I's wardrobe here at Most Amazing Top 10 is carefully curated and tailored on the daily. Well, one photograph taken on the moon shows a rock with a very intriguing marking on it, something that looks a lot like the letter C. You see, some folks scoured photos taken on the Apollo 11 mission and were surprised to see the C, so they analyzed what they saw and decided this one rock must have been a fake. See if you can see this C in this photograph they saw. I certainly see what they saw. That's a C to me. So the question is, how did the great Stanley Kubrick, of all people, manage to let something like this slip? It's almost a bigger mystery in itself, right? I mean, he must have been pretty spaced out. He had spent all this time working on 2001, after all, which came out the year before the Apollo 11 mission. Maybe he was just bored of all the science fiction stuff and got a bit lazy. I can see it.
So, if the moon landing really was faked, why was it faked? Well, there's a few reasons as to why the United States would have wanted the rest of the world to believe that they were capable of becoming the first nation to make it to the moon. One, of course, being bragging rights, or in political terms, national prestige. A demonstration of the nation's amazing scientific and engineering capabilities that could be used as an intimidation tactic during the Cold War. It also incentivized foreign countries to invest in and become allies to the United States, so a bit of a win-win there for them. Not to mention there was also a massive amount of political pressure on the US after President John F. Kennedy challenged its greatest minds to succeed in sending a man to the moon before the end of the decade. They made it just in time. Coincidence? You tell me, but here's the thing. You're going to tell me that no mission prior to Apollo 11 was a success, but all of a sudden, a team of 3 astronauts make it to the moon and back completely unharmed? I don't know. It seems pretty far-fetched if you ask me.
The circumstances of the mission make a hoax highly plausible. In the midst of a Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union, showing who was more technologically advanced was paramount. So either side had every intention of coming out on top. For a powerful nation like the United States, this could have given the government all the motivation they needed to force results by pulling one of the oldest tricks in the book, good old-fashioned hoax. When worst comes to worst, just trick them. I mean, hey, sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures, right? Now, of course, there's no way we can confirm or deny this 100%, but I wanted to start with this point because now we're going to take a look at some more specific details and sort this whole thing out once and for all. In at number 9, we have one of the most common critiques of the Apollo moon landing footage and photographs, the lack of stars. Not just lack of, actually, there are no stars to be seen, just a flat black background. Now, we've all looked up at the night sky and seen the endless cluster of stars above, especially those of us who don't live in big cities. The sky is filled with the things. So how is it that these astronauts who are all the way up in space on the surface of the moon itself didn't capture any stars in their footage? Now, you may be thinking, well, even if it is a hoax, they could have still put stars in the background, so this doesn't really prove anything, but I'm not so sure. The endless void of space coated in twinkling stars would be a pretty difficult image to replicate, especially in 1969. So perhaps they opted to just leave them out altogether in hopes that no one would notice. But we noticed. I noticed. Perhaps you did too. The waving American flag. Once Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong had successfully landed on the moon, they planted the American flag into the rocky terrain. It was a glorious representation of America's first place victory in the race to space. Everybody clapped, unless you were, of course, living in the Soviet Union. Perhaps then, maybe you shed a tear. And the dreams of children across the world had finally come true. One day, maybe they too could take a trip to space, they all thought. But some skeptical viewers once again saw something fishy in the footage. Flags. Flags are known to blow in the wind. That's kind of why they're made the way they are. Things look cool when they blow gloriously in the wind. Only there's just one problem. There is no wind in the vacuum of space. So it seems odd to me that the flag would be blowing as if it were perched on a porch by a seaside town. It's been said that it was set up specifically to create the illusion of blowing in the wind, but to that I say possibly, but possibly not. It's amazing what kinds of excuses people will make when they're caught red-handed making silly mistakes. Alright, still a firm believer in the moon landing being real? Well, let me throw another monkey wrench into your beliefs. In one famous photo taken of Buzz Aldrin, we see Neil Armstrong in the reflection of his visor. Now, any reflection is going to show exactly what's right in front of it. So why is it that there doesn't seem to be a camera in Armstrong's hands? Perhaps someone else took the picture, but it was said there were only 2 of them there. So once again, I cross my arms in disbelief, sir. This one has been apparently explained by NASA, saying that Armstrong had a camera mounted in the front of his suit, but I still don't see it. Where is the camera? Hashtag, where is the camera? I want to know. Maybe NASA is refusing to admit that there was a whole studio crew involved in this so-called mission. And speaking of a studio crew, let's talk about the man who very well could have directed this hoax of a moon landing, Stanley Kubrick himself. Is it not strange that just 1 year prior to this spectacular moon landing taking place, Stanley Kubrick released his classic film 2001: A Space Odyssey to critical acclaim? Now, not only is this movie incredible based on its story, but visually it actually holds up. I saw 2001 a few years back when it was released in theaters, and honestly, it looks like it could have been made today. The ships look real. It's fantastic. It looks like they're actually flying through space. So the idea that replicating a space landing in a Hollywood studio backlot would have been beyond human capability at the time of 1969 is simply not true. It could be done. Perhaps members of NASA saw Kubrick's film. What am I saying? Of course they did. They're space freaks. Of course they went to see it. And then they made Kubrick an offer he couldn't refuse. Perhaps the moon landing is Stanley Kubrick's most controversial film, right behind A Clockwork Orange. Wouldn't surprise me. The man was a genius, and he didn't seem like the type who would run his mouth and reveal any big secrets. Speaking of film quality for a moment, though, let's talk about the quality of the photographs themselves. This was 1969. These men were in space. They were not professional photographers, they were astronauts. So why did these photographs look so high quality, almost cinematic? Some of them look like images from movies you'd see on the back of a DVD. If you don't know what a DVD is, I suppose you're too young. DVDs were movies that you could buy. Yes, as I just discussed, movies could look exceptional even back then, but I must stress once again, Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong didn't make a living as cinematographers. Have you ever looked at family photos from the late 1960s? They look like crap. Even with the access we have to high quality cameras right on our phones today, we still get terrible pictures. And they were in space. I, for one, would not be calm and collected enough to take an amazing photograph. But if you're in a studio with Stanley Kubrick on set, you know what I'm getting at. Next up, we have similar backdrops. In a number of photos taken on this moon photo shoot, people have pointed out several instances where the backgrounds appear all too similar. It's almost as if they were filming in a studio with rather limited space at their disposal and only a certain amount of matte paintings backdrops. Now, yes, this is the moon. It's not like there's much to look at, and sure, maybe several of the pictures were, of course, taken close together, but some of them were stated to have been taken miles apart, and yet they don't appear to have been. For two men that had an entire moon to themselves, you'd think that the backgrounds would have looked a bit more varied. Instead, we see photos, the same hills, the same rocks. Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think that I'm not fooled. Proof of props. In the plethora of pictures that were supposedly taken on the moon, there's one rock that some hawk-eyed skeptics have pointed out, a rock that seems to be labeled with the letter C. Now, unless a crew of Martians landed on the moon before us, who also happened to share our alphabet, it seems highly unlikely that a space rock would have a perfectly shaped C etched into it naturally. This has led a number of people to deem this rock a prop. Perhaps it was turned over by accident, or the photographer accidentally took the photo at the wrong angle, but I, for one, find this very suspect. What does the C stand for? Maybe it's just how the props are organized. A, B, C, and so on. You know how the alphabet goes. Or maybe this C stands for con or cheat. Take your pick. Some have pointed that what appears to be a C on the rock didn't actually appear in the original NASA prints, but who's to say really? When we take the other evidence into account, again, it seems highly suspect.
Let's get started. In our number 10 spot, this theory is a little far-fetched in my personal opinion, but some theorists believe that the footage was filmed in a studio and the editors reduced the speed to slow motion in order to mimic the low gravity conditions. It has been suggested that if you increase the speed of the footage by about 2.5 times, the astronauts appear to be moving in Earth's gravity. They also believe to account for the astronauts jumping high, hidden cables and wires were used. Number 9 takes us to the discrepancies with their shadows. On the moon, the sun is the only strong light source, meaning all of the shadows should be parallel with one another. However, this is not the case, because seen in all the videos and photographs, the shadows fall in different directions. This made many people believe that there must have been multiple light sources, which suggests that the landing photographs were taken on a film set. NASA argued that the uneven landscape was the culprit for the strange shadows. So in at number 8, we have the small impact crater. This conspiracy theory suggests that if they really landed on the moon, there would be a sizable blast crater underneath the lunar module after landing on it. On all of the footage or photographs of the landing, there wasn't a visible crater. The surface of the moon is covered in fine lunar dust, but even this doesn't seem to have been displaced while landing. NASA combats this theory by stating that the module required significantly less thrust due to the low gravity conditions that it would have done on Earth. So everything just seems to have some sort of explanation. In at lucky number 7, we have the mysterious object. When the photographs of the moon landing was released to the public, theorists noticed a mysterious object in the reflection of an astronaut's helmet from the Apollo 12 mission. They claimed that this object appeared to be hanging from a rope or wire, which led to some to suggest that this is an overhead spotlight that can typically be found, of course, in studios. To this day, this object still remains unexplained, but due to poor quality of the photograph, maybe this was done on purpose, I don't think we'll ever gonna know what this object really was. Up next, in at number 6, let's talk about Van Allen radiation belt. The astronauts en route to the moon had a trajectory that would pass through the Van Allen radiation belt. The belt is held into place by the Earth's magnetic field, and it is known to stay in the same place. The Apollo missions to the moon were the first ever attempted to transport humans through this belt. Many people believe that the levels of radiation emitted from this belt should have cooked the astronauts when they attempted to pass by this belt, despite the many layers of aluminum coating they had on. However, NASA argued that the astronauts were only exposed to this radiation for a short amount of time, so they only received a very small dose of it. Blowing its way into number 5.
Hi everyone and welcome to yet another controversial Better Mankind video. I think subconsciously there must be a part of me that enjoys the onslaught of nasty comments when I make videos like this. But the fact remains that there's way more evidence that supports the theory that we never went to the moon than there is to support that we ever did. Now, there are many reasons that prove we never went to the moon. To mention a few, you have the wavy flag in a zero atmosphere environment, the lack of any blast crater underneath the lunar module, or how about the absence of stars in space? The problem with any of these arguments is that NASA seems to have an explanation for every single one of them. Therefore, people like me and other moon landing deniers are referred to as a bunch of crazy tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy kooks that need to up their medication. So in this video, I'm only going to address a single discrepancy that NASA themselves have admitted to on more than one occasion, and will prove without a doubt that we have never even left low Earth orbit, let alone landed a man on the moon. But first, let's go back to school and get a refresher course on the different atmospheres surrounding the Earth. Now, the following information is critical to proving my point, so please bear with me. First, we have the troposphere. This is where all of our weather occurs, and it is the lowest layer of the Earth's atmosphere. It starts at the Earth's surface and extends up to a height of 4 to 10 miles. Next, we have the stratosphere, which extends to about 35 miles above the Earth's surface. This is where our ozone layer resides and protects us from those dangerous UV rays. It is also the layer where aircraft travels, as it is free from weather disturbances. Now we go up to the mesosphere, where most meteors burn up on entry. The mesosphere stretches up to 50 miles above the Earth's surface. Next, we have the thermosphere, and this layer extends up to 400 miles from the Earth's surface, and the air here is very thin. Also, temperatures here start to get really hot, ranging anywhere from 200 to 500 degrees Celsius and 500 to 2000 degrees Celsius in the upper region. And last but not least is the exosphere. The temperature in the exosphere can vary from 0 to 1700 degrees Celsius. The exosphere is the outermost layer of the Earth's atmosphere and is around 6,200 miles from the Earth's surface. Now, according to NASA, low Earth orbit is around 1,200 miles from the Earth's surface. So before I tell you the reasons why it is impossible for us to go beyond the exosphere, or for that matter even past the thermosphere, have a listen to what some NASA experts have to say about this topic.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Hang on. So what you're saying is that in order to send humans through this region, we need to solve the challenge of getting through the Van Allen radiation belts? But I'm confused. Didn't you already solve this challenge back in 1969 when you sent astronauts to the moon, and subsequently 5 other times after that?
But we're also really pushing the boundaries in terms of where we're going forward with exploration. I think humans are naturally driven to do this, and this is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit. I certainly plan on being around to see that.
So she's a NASA astronaut, but I guess no one bothered to tell her about the first time that we left low Earth orbit. I guess she might be a little too young to remember. Here we have another astronaut that wasn't told about the moon landing 48 years ago.
The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. We only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
Once we travel beyond low Earth orbit, the crew will be exposed to larger amounts of radiation. So we have to design both the crew protection systems and our electronic systems to withstand this radiation.
So that would mean that Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins and Buzz Aldrin were a tough bunch of SOBs able to withstand all that brutal radiation, considering these challenges are still yet to be solved. So how is it that we had the technology to achieve this amazing feat back in 1969, but we're still working on the technology in 2017, almost half a century later. Well, I managed to find a very clever and well-informed astronaut that will totally straighten things out for us and explain exactly why we're not able to return to the moon and break through those Van Allen radiation belts. Have a listen to this clever chap.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
This guy, oh boy. Here's a real-life example of what can happen to you when you're exposed to all of that outer space radiation. And if you're a child with aspirations of becoming an astronaut, being a very good liar might be a positive attribute to have on your resume. Now, just by showing you these admissions of guilt by NASA, I can easily end this video now, and I would have easily proven my point without a shadow of a doubt. But I'm sure that for some of you hardened skeptics out there, this damaging evidence is still not enough. So let's take this theory of mine to the next level.
This here is the lunar module now proudly displayed at the National Air and Space Museum. According to NASA, the primary materials used to build the module were aluminium alloy, stainless steel, titanium, nickel steel alloy, heat-resistant glass. Now, if this is the case, we have a very serious discrepancy here. If you remember earlier when I went through the different atmospheres that surround the Earth, both the thermosphere and exosphere have temperatures ranging from 0 to 2000 degrees Celsius. So I decided to examine the melting points of the primary metals that were used to build the lunar module. First off, we have the aluminium alloy, which has a melting point of 463 degrees Celsius. Next we have stainless steel, which has a melting point of 1510 degrees Celsius. Then we also have nickel steel alloy, which melts at 1453 degrees Celsius, and of course the heat resistant glass for the windows, which has a melting point of 760 degrees Celsius. So this would mean that the lunar module, along with its occupants, would have disintegrated well before it even passed through the thermosphere, let alone surviving the Van Allen radiation belts in the exosphere. To protect the astronauts from the Van Allen radiation belts, the lunar module would have required 6 feet of lead shielding. But here's what they really had for protection.
Obviously, the only shielding they had was the literally paper-thin outer hull of aluminum, and their suits consisting of glass fiber, some aluminum fibers, and silicon rubber.
It's very interesting concerning radiation that the astronauts were protected by a thin film of aluminum, when here on Earth they put a lead shield on us when they take a dental x-ray.
In conclusion, when NASA themselves admit to never having left low Earth orbit, and the fact that we don't even have the materials that could withstand the extreme temperatures and cosmic rays in space, how on earth can anyone believe that we ever went to the moon?
Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like my content, please give me the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you have your own opinions about the moon landing, feel free to leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. Until next time, take care and be good to each other.
That this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
In this video, there's a minimum of 75 Bible verses with prophecies and Bible codes that prove a flat geostationary Earth. I've grouped most of these verses into groups of 3, so I'm going to be counting down from 25 to 1. It'll make sense to you in a minute. And I've saved the best 2 for last. So let's start with some easy ones. Number 25, corners. Isaiah 11 verse 12, 4 corners of the earth. Revelation 7 verse 1, 4 corners of the earth. Revelation 20 verse 8, the 4 corners of the earth. You can't have corners on a sphere. That's because the earth is not a sphere. It's flat. Number 24, still earth. 1 Chronicles 16 verse 30, the world also shall be stable, that it be not moved. Psalm 96 verse 10, the world also shall be established, that it shall not be moved. Psalm 93 verse 1, the world also is established, that it cannot be moved. It's all consistent, clear as day. If the world isn't moving, then it's not spinning, and neither is it orbiting around the sun. Number 23, pillars. 1 Samuel 2 verse 8, for the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. Job 9 verse 6, and the pillars thereof tremble. Psalm 75 verse 3, I bear up the pillars of it. There's nothing about a ball-shaped earth that you can fit pillars into. That's because the earth is not round, the pillars hold up a flat earth, there's a dome on top, the earth is flat. Number 22, the firmament dome. Isaiah 24 verse 18, for the windows of heaven are opened. It's a dome over a flat earth. Isaiah 13 verse 13, therefore I will make the heavens tremble. If the heavens can tremble, then it has to have solidity to it. Genesis 1 verse 6, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. It's a dome over a flat earth that separates the waters above the dome. I read this so many times and I didn't see what was going on. I read the word firmament, didn't understand it, but it makes so much sense now when you take it literally. Strong's Concordance defines the word firmament as a solid expanse, roughly like the domed roof on this building here. Here's the inside of that dome, and the stars that we see in the sky would be fixed into this solid firmament, and the whole thing rotates around a flat, stationary earth. That's why all the stars move around the sky together as one set piece, because you can only have a solid dome separating the waters above from the waters and seas below on a flat earth with the atmosphere in the middle. It doesn't work on a ball-shaped earth. Number 21, the firmament dome continued. Isaiah 44 verse 24, I am the Lord who made all things, who alone stretched out the heavens, who spread out the earth by myself. Well, you can't spread something out by rolling it into a ball. Psalms 18 verse 9, he bowed the heavens also. 2 Samuel 22 verse 10 repeats Psalms. It says, he bowed the heavens also. Strong's number H5186 describes the word bowed as bend. The heavens bend around us. It's a domed heaven around a flat earth. Number 20, the sun. There are 67 Bible verses that reference the sun moving. You can easily look this up. Here's a title on one website that lists them all. But zero, zilch, nothing, no Bible verses at all that ever make reference to the earth moving. So, at the very least, the Bible supports a geostationary earth. Number 19, Bible codes. If you're familiar with Bible codes, then you'll know there's a matrix of flat earth clusters from Luke 13 verse 28 to Luke 14. Here's the matrix. Here's flat, earth, and at equidistant letter spacing you'll also find dome, canopy, tent, truth, edge, disc even, and a lot more. If you don't have Bible code software, then you can do this for free at biblecodewisdom.com. Number 18, height and depth. Job 11 verse 8, it is as high as heaven, what can you do? Deeper than hell, what can you know? So there's a height to heaven and a depth to hell. You can't have a height to heaven on a heliocentric, ever-expanding universe model. You can only have a height to heaven on a flat earth that has a dome over the top of it. Number 17, length and width. Job 11 verse 9, the measure thereof is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. It doesn't say longer than the sphere and broader than the curved ocean. You can't have a length and breadth on a ball unless you change the wording of the Bible to accommodate it. You can only have a length and breadth on a flat level plane. Number 16, wisdom. Colossians 2 verse 8 says, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world. 1 Timothy 6 verse 20, false science. 1 Corinthians 3 verse 19, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. A ball-shaped world is wisdom to those that live in the world and get their information from TV or the education system. Wisdom of a global earth is literally foolishness with God. True wisdom is not taught in the education system, and neither will you find it on the 6 o'clock news. True wisdom is only found by carefully weighing up the options, and that's what we've been doing on this channel for the last few months, weighing up the evidence. Really try to understand what the Bible is saying here in these 3 verses, because it's telling us that the earth is flat, it's not round. Number 15, day and night. Job 26 verse 10. He has compassed the waters with bounds until the day and night come to an end. Well, that's interesting. Here's a flat earth map. The outer bounds are made of ice. The waters are literally compassed with an ice boundary. The sun goes around the earth like this. Both day and night can only come to an end where day and night meet the dome. Beyond the dome, time ceases to exist. Whoever happens to live in that realm outside the dimension of time, beyond the dome, which is the heaven, is also immortal. He's always been there. He can see the beginning and the end. Prophecies in the Bible, inspired by the Holy Spirit, show us the future is already foretold. And when the Bible talks of the everlasting, that's the place we all go to at some point. Problem is, most of us who reject the truth will face everlasting shame. Like it or not, we're all going to meet our Maker someday. So day and night can't possibly come to an end on a ball earth model. That's because the earth isn't a ball, the earth is flat. Number 14, foundations. Job 38 verse 4. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. As we've just seen, the foundations of the earth are pillars. Isaiah 48 verse 13. My hand also has laid the foundation of the earth, and my right hand has spanned the heavens. When I call unto them, they stand up together. If the heavens stand up at his command, then it's telling us here that the heavens are a dome, it's a solid dome, the earth is flat. Number 13, footstool. Isaiah 66 verse 1. The heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Matthew 5 verse 35, he's swearing, nor by earth, for it is his footstool. Acts 7 verse 49, heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. This is what a footstool looks like. It's got 4 pillars. Here's another one. How exactly are you mistaking this for this? What footstool spins at 1,000 miles an hour? Number 12, desktop globe. Exodus 20 verse 4. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath. Isaiah 42 verse 8. Neither my praise to graven images. It's also the second of the 10 commandments, so that rules out having a spinning globe on your desktop, because what's a spinning globe? It's a graven image that depicts the earth. Why was the commandment not to have those things? Because it indoctrinates without even speaking. The earth isn't a globe, it's flat. Number 11, the stars. Matthew 24 verse 29. The stars shall fall from heaven. Mark 13 verse 25. And the stars of heaven shall fall. Revelation 6 verse 13. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth. We've all been brainwashed into thinking the stars are massive and trillions of miles away. The Bible is telling us the stars are not massive, they're small, close, and they're going to fall to the earth. So the universe that we see up there is dome-shaped and small enough to contain all the stars that circle around the flat stationary earth. Number 10, the universe. This is the ancient Hebrew view of the universe. We've got the earth on pillars, Sheol down there, and a dome over the flat geostationary earth, and all the stars and the sun and the moon inside the dome going around the earth. That's why in Genesis 1 verse 14 it says, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven. Not orbiting a Milky Way galaxy, no, inside the dome, the firmament. Number 9, sun circuit. Psalm 96 verse 10. The world also shall be established, that it shall not be moved. King James Version. Equally, that verse could support a ball-shaped earth. but it eliminates the possibility of the earth going around the sun. Bear that in mind for a moment. Psalm 19 verse 6, talking about the sun, his going forth is from the end of heaven, and his circuit until the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. If the sun has a circuit, then the sun is not the centre of the solar system as we've been told. Critics will say, yes, but the sun is on a circuit. It circles the centre of our Milky Way galaxy. Well, if the Earth is established that it cannot be moved, but the sun goes around the Milky Way, then the sun would fly off away from the Earth and we'd never see the sun again. So when the Bible talks of the sun having a circuit, it's talking about the sun circuiting around a flat Earth. Number 8. Circle of the earth. So those who loosely read the Bible point to Isaiah 40 verse 22, which says, "It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth." And they use that verse to support a round earth. But there is a difference between a sphere and a circle. Isaiah knew the difference between a ball and a circle because he describes a ball in Isaiah 22 verse 18. So why did Isaiah not use the same word for ball when describing the earth in chapter 40? That's because the earth is not a ball, it's a flat disc shape with a dome on top and pillars underneath. Number 7. Grasshoppers. Psalm 33 verse 14, from the place of his habitation he looks upon the inhabitants of the earth. You can't do that on a 13.8 billion light year across universe. It's a dome. Isaiah 40 verse 22, it is he that sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. If you're outside the expanding heliocentric universe, then we wouldn't resemble grasshoppers. The entire galaxy would resemble a speck. It's a dome over a flat earth. Number 6. Deception. Matthew 24 verse 24, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 3, let no man deceive you by any means. Ephesians 5 verse 6, let no man deceive you with vain words. So, if you are deceived about the ball-shaped earth, thinking a sphere is the truth, then you've got no chance of ever being able to understand the Bible, yourself barred from all knowledge. If you take the view that the flat earth is a distraction, then what exactly is it distracting you from? What? Celebrity gossip? Or if you believe it doesn't matter if the earth is round or flat, then you're a self-confessed idiot, because it absolutely does matter if the earth is flat or round. You'll never be able to understand the Bible at all if you think the flat round earth is a distraction or doesn't matter. Number 5. Tent. If we go back to Isaiah 40 verse 22 and expand on it, if you remember, it says, it is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreads them out as a tent to dwell in. Here's a picture of my tent. I went camping in it a month ago. How exactly are you confusing a tent, a dome-like structure, for an expanding universe 13.8 billion light years across? They don't match up. Again, this verse gives credence to the fact that it's a flat earth with a dome-like structure above. Number 4. Ends of the earth. Job 37 verse 3, and his lightning unto the ends of the earth. Daniel 4 verse 11, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. Proverbs 30 verse 4, who hath established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is his son's name, if you can tell? Wow. Proverbs is Old Testament, and what a prophecy that is. Not only is it predicting Jesus, the Son of God, but also the ends of a flat level earth. There's no end on a ball-shaped earth. It goes around continuously. You can only come to an end on a flat level plane. Number 3. Lies. Jeremiah 16 verse 19, the Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. This is a future prophecy following a monstrous destruction of people who believed lies. But it could just as easily apply now, today. Here we are today showing evidence of the ends of the earth, telling people the earth is flat, and the generation who lived from the 1930s until now got lied to. The generation above us inherited lies, and those who stand for nothing will believe anything. There's no end to the earth on a ball. That's because it's not a ball, it's flat. Number 2, the four winds. The Bible is consistent all the way through from Old to New Testament that there's four winds. For example, Jeremiah 49 verse 36, four winds. Daniel 7 verse 2, four winds. Matthew 24 verse 31, four winds. Revelation 7 verse 1, four winds. If you've got understanding, you'll know there's a jet stream that connects North America with Europe. Commercial aircraft try to fly in the jet stream to conserve fuel. Do some diligent research and you'll find there's 4 jet streams, 2 in the north and 2 in the southern hemisphere. So how did the guys who penned the Bible know about these 4 jet streams when they were only discovered in the 1920s, when planes could finally fly high enough to discover them? So we have a dome-shaped earth that requires cross ventilation.
Okay, so here's an example of cross ventilation. Here's my boiler in there, and you've got to have 2 ventilations, one at the top and one at the bottom. It's not sufficient to just have one because that wouldn't circulate the air through. You've got to have 2 for sufficient ventilation.
If you want to properly ventilate your roof to prevent dry rot or wet rot, you'll need a minimum of 2 vents, one here and one here. But if you want to ventilate the entire earth, then you'll need inlets of air and outlets. That's why in Revelation 7 verse 1 it says, "I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth, so that no wind would blow on the earth or on the sea or on any tree." And the picture you see on screen is a graphical representation of the 4 angels on the 4 corners of the earth. Each of them would feed in a jet stream of air into the dome, a bit like a leaf blower, to cross-ventilate the entire earth. Jet streams wouldn't work on a ball-shaped earth because they'd fizzle out to nothing very quickly. The only way I can visualize a jet stream working is to feed that jet stream somehow into the system by an inlet. It's impossible to replicate a constant fast-flowing column of air on a ball earth without something feeding that air into the system. Scientists will try and make out the case that hot and cold air colliding will cause a jet stream, but I think that's unlikely. So that brings us to the number 1 reason, and that is mathematics. In Psalm 147 verse 5, it's referring to the Almighty. It says, "His understanding is infinite." And if we get to Genesis 1 verse 1, "In the beginning God created the heaven, singular, and the earth." What you're about to see is approximately 20 seconds of complicated stuff. Just follow along as best you can here for 20 seconds, because this will knock your socks off. In Hebrew, the first sentence of the Bible looks like this. If you take the number of Hebrew letters and times that by the product of the letters, and then divide that by the number of words times the product of the words, you get 3.1416. That's the value of pi to 4 decimal places. Pi is the relationship of a circle's circumference to its diameter, so you measure the circumference of any circle all the way round and divide that by the diameter straight across, and you get 3.14, the value of pi, an infinite string of numbers. Okay, that's the complicated stuff over. What the Bible is describing here is clearly a circle and not a sphere. And only a flat geostationary circular earth fits that description. And if that failed to knock your socks off, then you've not been paying attention, because what we've got here is the Bible describing the creation of the earth in words, and behind those words we've got a mathematical formula that not only verifies the authenticity of the text, a fingerprint of God, if you will, but it describes the very shape of the earth, circular. In the future, I might post a video just on this subject alone, or I might write a book on the subject, or I might correspond with and collaborate with people who care. There's a lot more to this than meets the eye. And finally, Luke 18 verse 17, "For nothing is hid that shall not be made manifest, nor anything secret that shall not be known and come to light." Thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you'd like to see more information and research into the flat earth, then you can click the left. If you've had enough and you can't take it anymore, then there's a funny video on the right. A full transcript of this video is, well, might be in the comments if it will fit. You can also find more information in the description box below by clicking more. God bless you all, and remember, the answer to 1984 is 33 AD. Approximately.
The Bible even says in Luke chapter 8 verse 17, "For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad." Well, the secret is over, and it's time for the flat earth truth to manifest itself. So let's get started with the 40 Bible verses. Bible verse number 1. "Fear before him all the earth, the world also shall be stable, that it will be not moved." So the key point is there, the earth does not move. Bible verse number 2. "The Lord reigneth, he is clothed with majesty, the Lord is clothed with strength, wherewith he hath girded himself. The world also is established, that it cannot be moved." Bible verse number 3. "Say among the heathen that the Lord reigneth, the world also shall be established, that it shall not be moved." The Bible is very clear that the earth is established and does not move. Science tells us that the earth spins at 1,000 miles per hour. Now be honest with yourself. Can you feel it spin at 1,000 miles per hour like science tells us? I don't think so. I've never felt or seen any signs of it spinning. Never. Bible verse number 4. "It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretches out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in." This verse here has been misunderstood by many Christians, including me. I used to say, "See, it says circle, so we must live on a globe." There is a big difference between a circle and a ball. In fact, Isaiah knew the difference because of what he said in Isaiah chapter 22, verse 18. "He will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country." Why didn't Isaiah use the word ball to describe the earth in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 22? Because he knew we didn't live on a ball, but we live on a flat circle. Bible verse number 5. "Where was thou when I laid the foundations of the earth?" So the key there is foundations of the earth. Bible verse number 6. "Mine hand also has laid the foundation of the earth." Bible verse number 7. "Who laid the foundations of the earth, that it should not be removed forever?" We all know that when you build a strong foundation, it doesn't move. It stays in place for a very long time. Yet science wants us to believe that the earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, and then the earth is rotating around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour. I don't think so. God made this earth flat with foundations so that it doesn't move. A spinning globe has no foundations. Bible verse number 8. "Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool." So the key here is footstool. Bible verse number 9. "Nor by the earth, for it is his footstool." Bible verse number 10. "Heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool." A footstool has a flat top and foundations, or pillars, to hold it up. I don't see anywhere on the globe earth model that shows that it has a footstool. I don't think so. Verse number 11. He raises up the poor out of the dust, and lifts up the beggar from the dunghill, to set them among princes, and to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. So the key here is pillars of the earth. Verse number 12. Which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars therefore tremble. Verse number 13. The earth and all the inhabitants thereof are dissolved. I bear up the pillars of it. Pillars are fixed in place, just like a foundation. If God says the earth has pillars, then it is not a spinning globe like science tells us. So you can see that the Bible is very clear that the earth is immovable, has a foundation that does not move, and is fixed on pillars that also do not move. There is no room for a spinning ball theory when it comes to the Bible. Now, let's move on to the dome firmament and what that means. The definition of firmament is the vault or arch of the sky. Stars twinkled in the firmament. Let's look at Bible verse number 14. And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. See in this picture, this is the ancient Hebrew conception of the universe. There is the arch of the firmament, the dome so to speak. There is the waters above and the waters below, and the earth is placed on its foundations. Verse number 15. Praise him, ye heavens of heavens, and ye waters that be above the heavens. This verse confirms what it says in Genesis chapter 1 verse 7, that there are waters above the firmament. Next verse, number 16. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Verse number 17. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molten looking glass. This verse is very powerful. God says the sky is strong like molten glass. But what does molten glass look like? Here are a few molten glass bowls. Now, let's turn these upside down and see what they look like. They look just like a dome that contains the flat earth. Do you see the similarity to this flat earth model with a dome over it? I sure can. And let's not forget what it says in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 22, about the heavens being just like a tent. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretches out the heavens as a curtain, and spreads them out as a tent to dwell in. This is a round tent. This is a round, dome, flat earth. Do you see the similarities? Isaiah sure did. Now, let's talk about the stars in the firmament. Here's a picture showing the waters above the firmament and the stars, sun, and moon within the firmament. So the important thing to remember is that the stars, sun, and moon are inside the firmament. Bible verse number 18. And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two grates, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. So there is no doubt that God placed the stars, sun, and moon inside the firmament. Bible verse number 19. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, The key point here is, it says the stars fell unto the earth. Science tells us that the stars are millions and even billions of miles away. What a joke. So how will the stars fall to earth? Impossible, unless all the stars were directly above us. And this is only possible on a flat dome earth where the stars are right above us inside the firmament. Verse number 20. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground. Again, it states that the stars were cast to the ground. Verse number 21. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. Verse 22. And the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken. Both of these verses state that the stars shall fall from heaven. This supports the flat earth dome model of heaven being directly above us and the stars embedded in the firmament falling to earth. Now, let's talk about the four corners of the earth, or the ends of the earth. Here is a picture of how I imagine God might have created the earth. I can hear the critics now. Wait a second, that's not a circular flat earth. It's a square, not a circle. Look, I don't claim to know all the facts, but I do know that the Illuminati are hiding a very big secret down in the Antarctic. Why else did they create the Antarctic Treaty of 1959, in which 53 countries signed this treaty that basically made it into a military zone where the public can't go explore? I mean, come on, it's just a bunch of ice with little to no life down there. So what are they hiding? They don't want us to explore the Antarctic because then we would find out the truth, that the edge of the flat earth dome is located there, and they don't want us to see it. This is a huge topic that I will discuss in an upcoming video. Just know this, there is something very strange going on down there that the Illuminati have been hiding from the public for over 50 years. Do some research on your own. But what I do know is that a round globe does not have corners or ends to it. Let's see what the Bible has to say. Bible verse number 23. After these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor the sea, nor on any tree. Verse number 24. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Verse number 25. O Lord, my strength and my fortress, and my refuge in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth. Verse number 26. He directeth it under the whole heaven, and his lightning unto the ends of the earth. Verse number 27. Who has ascended up into heaven, or descended? Who has gathered the wind in his fist? Who has bound the waters in a garment? Who has established all the ends of the earth? So these verses describe the ends of the earth and the four corners of the earth. This would be impossible on a round globe earth. And now, let's talk about the four winds of the earth. This fact is amazing. Did you know that the earth has four main jet streams? They are called the polar jets and the subtropical jets. This is what it says straight from Wikipedia. The northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere each have a polar jet and a subtropical jet. That comes to a total of four winds of the earth, just like the Bible states. Here's a picture of what that would look like on the fake globe earth given to us by science. And here's a picture of what it really looks like on a flat earth given to us by God Almighty. Let's see what the Bible says about the four winds. Verse number 28. And upon Elam will I bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven. Verse 29. Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. Verse number 30. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Let's look at Revelation chapter 7 verse 1 again, but this time with the picture that describes it perfectly. And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. Okay, now let's talk about the sun and its movement in the Bible. Did you know that there is not one single reference to the earth moving around the sun in the Bible, like science tells us? Yet, there are many references to the sun rising, setting, and even standing still. Let's see what the Bible says. Verse number 31. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. It's the sun that is moving and rising, not the earth. Verse number 32. The sun also arises, and the sun goes down, and hasteth to his place where he arose. It is the sun that moves when it rises, moves when it sets, and goes back to its original position. Verse number 33. He appointed the moon for seasons, the sun knows his going down. It says the sun knows it's going down. Why didn't God say the earth knows it's going down? Because the earth is not moving. Next, verse number 34. Thy sun shall no more go down, neither shall the moon withdraw itself. The sun shall no more go down, which implies that it was moving. Verse number 35. Which commandeth the sun, and it rises not. Again, the sun did not rise, which implies that it was moving. Verse 36. Then spoke Joseph to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still, and in the midst of heaven, and hasted not go down about a whole day. Wait a second, what's going on here? Why did Joshua command the sun and moon to stand still if they are not moving to begin with? Oh, I know the answer. Science is wrong and God is right. Joshua commanded the sun and moon to stand still because they are the ones moving, not the earth. Verse number 37. The sun and moon stood still in their habitation. Here again, the sun and moon stood still, which means that they were moving and now they aren't. Verse number 38. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoices as a strong man to run a race. His going forth, and we're talking about the sun here, his going forth is from the end of the heavens, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. These verses describe the sun going forth or moving on a circuit or a track unto the ends of the heaven. I believe that God created the sun to move around this flat earth on a set track or on a set pattern. It sure makes a lot more sense than the earth hurling around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour. Let's look at the last 2 verses. Verse number 39. Again, the devil taketh him up, meaning Jesus, into an exceedingly high mountain, and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them. Someone please explain to me how they were able to see all the kingdoms of the earth from a high mountain. This is impossible on a globe earth. The only way that they were able to see all the kingdoms of the earth is on a flat earth. And last but not least, Bible verse number 40. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. Once again, someone please explain to me how this works. This is impossible on a globe earth. First off, there are no ends on a globe. And second, you wouldn't be able to see the bottom of the globe from the top of the tree. It is only possible to see the whole earth from the top of the tree if we lived on a flat dome earth like we really do. So there you have it. 40 Bible verses that show we live on a flat, dome-type earth. The earth is immovable, it has foundations, it has pillars, it has corners, and it has a firmament. And the sun, moon, and stars are moving inside the firmament, and the earth is stationary. God is very clear about this. So everyone, please take a deep breath and don't let this information overwhelm you. I have been what's called a truther for about 9 years now, and I just learned about this a year ago. I am 49 years old, and for 48 years I was deceived by Lucifer to believe in the spinning ball earth model. I already knew about the Luciferian Illuminati agenda, and yet I was still deceived. I can't believe I let this slip past me for so long. Oh well, that just shows you how powerful brainwashing can be. So, if you are a Christian, then I expect you to believe 100% that we live on a flat earth. Why? Because the Bible says so. So the big question is, why? Why is this important? Why should I even care about this topic? Why should I research it further? And why should the whole world know the truth about this topic? Here's the answer. Are you ready? Why do they lie about the shape of the earth? Without the globe model, the Big Bang model wouldn't be considered. Without the Big Bang model, the theory of evolution wouldn't be on the table. Without the theory of evolution, extraterrestrials seeding mankind is over. So that means ancient aliens, all these alien movies, that's all a lie. Without all these lies, people start thinking about the Creator, who we are, where we came from. They're hiding God. You live on a plane, not a planet. If people would wake up to the truth that we live on a flat earth and not a spinning ball, then all eyes will look up to the Creator, to God, the intelligent designer who created everything. There would be no more evolutionists. There would be no more atheists. Agnostics would have to reconsider their beliefs if they knew they lived on a flat earth made by God. So that's why it's important. And as a Christian, one of our main goals in life is to direct people to Jesus Christ. I believe that nothing in this world would turn people to God faster than people learning the truth about the flat earth. Let me say that again because this is so vital to understand. Nothing in this world would turn people to God faster than people learning the truth about the flat earth. The spinning earth model is Lucifer's biggest deception of all time. So let me conclude by saying this. This is Satan's globe earth lie. The Big Bang and evolution explain life. You were an accident. We evolved from primordial soup. We are just specks in the universe. Some people are more valuable than others. And this is the foundation for the New World Order. You are worthless. Now let's look at the flip side of that. God's flat earth. Creation is the only explanation. We are incredibly valuable. The Bible is 100% true. And we just saw 40 Bible verses that prove that. We live on an unmoving, firm foundation. You were created by God, and God loves you. So thank you very much for watching this video. God bless, and I will see you next time.
Don't waste any more time. Visit the links above now and order my book 16 Emergency Landings Proving Flat Earth. Visit my online store now and order the new enhanced Gleason's Flat Earth map. This map used to be in every school and library in the nation before NASA was created in 1958, when the maps were ordered removed. Have your Gleason's map hanging on the wall in your house where no government can take it down. Here you see it hanging on a wall in the house of the late Charles K. Johnson. Here is a quote from the book 1984 by George Orwell. Every record has been destroyed or falsified, every book rewritten, every picture has been repainted, every statue and street building has been renamed, every date has been altered, and the process is continuing day by day and minute by minute. History has stopped. Order your map now.